Dame Dash has always been a very important figure in the culture, right? Everybody has, well, hopefully everybody, if you haven't, may link it or something. He had this very famous interview on Breakfast Club,
Yeah.
pretty much talking about, ownership and putting up your own money. And you're not a boss if you don't put up your own money. And there, his definition of wealth is intriguing to me, right? I was watching a recent interview, and how he expressed what success and wealth is really different than what I expected from him. Because I think maybe, and this is just kind of the stereotype of, if you're in hip hop, right? If you're in a certain culture, success may mean the amount of businesses you have, amount of money that you have, what is there to show of it, right? And so I wanted to do this clip kind of to end the podcast just as a conversational piece of what does wealth mean to you kind of vibe. So let's watch this.
But there's a path, like there's a goal that everybody wants to get to, right? They want to be rich or their version of wealthy. But there's a different path to get there for everybody. Not every path is for everybody. And you have to find your path to get to your dream. Now, certain people might go a different path to get to their dream. It don't mean I'm going that path. And my path might take a little longer.
Oh, it cut. Oh, it cut because if you know Dame, he probably said something crazy. So I had to cut it. So I apologize. I apologize.
He's about to go off on a tangent.
Right. They didn't want to. I don't know if you have babies around. We try to keep it as kosher as I can. You know what I mean?
Keep it clean.
I'm just saying. But Mo, start this one off.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually gonna say I agree with him to a very large degree here, and the reason why is I've never been a fan of any cookie cutter type programs where every single person has to do the exact same thing every single time, and it's going to produce similar results. Way before that, I've always had a thing against it because I said no. Logically, I can see the world from a different lens, but I can also know that there are two different set of directions I can take and still end up at the same destination. So I don't have to follow that path if it's not really well tuned or well created for my work style. Now, I will say this, to some extent, there is some fundamentals that you cannot skip out on. For the most part, there are some fundamentals. You might say work ethic. You might say, like we talked about, authenticity, being yourself. There are just some characteristics or some concepts that are included in everybody's formula. But when it comes to your path to generating wealth, that's got to be a little bit more strategic. You got to think about the context of who you are and where you are, and think about what you're trying to accomplish, and put in some different variables there to connect the dots. So that's one of the big pieces now that I've been including even in many of our teachers, Nicky, is talking about the importance of context. When you take someone's blueprint and you're not mindful of the context in which they've created it in, you're going to for sure have some level of success, get some level of momentum, but you're gonna hit a wall because you're not them. And that's the part where some are just intrigued with figuring it out themselves, and others are able to conceptualize of, okay, here's what I can take from that because it's well suited for me, but this is where I gotta stop. And it really takes a great level of discipline to say, okay, I'm gonna stop right here because that's not going to be well suited for me, regardless of how well it's perceived or pitched. That's where people got to create, a bit of a barrier there. But definitely, for the most part, I do agree with what he's saying.
Yeah, and a little backstory, of course, the person who was asking the question was trying to be messy and was like, well, you see, there are certain people who are selling their assets, selling their businesses to uh, bigger companies. And he was, of course, referring to Jay-Z, who sold Title and Ace of Spades and stuff like that. And first off, I do respect how Dame kind of responded to that. It wasn't super messy, right?
Right.
But as well as just saying, look, I'm not paying attention to how people are creating their wealth. I'm paying attention to how I'm creating my wealth. And I'm going to do it in this way. And I'm not necessarily checking how long that would take compared to anybody else. I'm going to run it this way. And if you subscribe to that, cool. If you don't, cool. But I think it also goes based off the conversation of what is the goal? Like what is wealth to you? And how do you want to get there? Do you want to sell all this stuff and give it all away for the bag? Does that create the wealth that you want? Or is it the ownership and the residual incomes and things like that? Does that create the wealth for you? What is your definition of wealth? And how is it that you're going to do it? And what I do love about Dame is that he really doesn't pay attention to nobody.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
he's like, I'm gonna do it this way, and I really don't care what you think. And that's it. Like I've done a lot. I made and oh man, there was this clip. Oh, I wish I would have cut it up. And I know we're a little over time, but he was talking about like, yo, the way I do things is to teach others, right? I made Jay a billionaire. I made Kanye a billionaire. I wish the others would be billionaires, but all of them make more than me. And that was the goal of it. Like, I don't do this for myself. I do this because that is my definition of wealth, of making sure other people, based off my my experience, my journey, my ways of distributing this, that, and the third, because he has a streaming platform, he has a studio, he's doing his own music just because his kids have all businesses. Like, I'm doing this so they could do more. And I wanted to cut up that clip and I didn't because I felt like we were going to be over time. But the question of, are you a good leader or less of a leader if the people that you lead do not surpass you, whether in status or financially? That is my question.
I like that. I like that.
See
Man,
how I did
man,
that?
that's
See how I did that?
wow.
He likes
Yeah.
2 questions that I've asked in 2 episodes. We're
Yeah.
clipping this up.
That's good. That's good. Now that's a really good question. I mean, I do believe, of course, it's going to come down to the mission that you're leading,
Yep.
right? In some cases, the objective is to make the people better than you. So the point that they are, when someone arrives at a point of exceeding what you've taught them or exceeding what you can do for them, while it may feel like, oh man, you really gonna leave us? That actually lets you know that your work was successful or your mission was complete. So in some cases, that's phenomenal. But the flip side of it is, if your leadership style does not create any other leaders, and it's meant to literally put a ceiling over other people's head, then yeah, you gotta take a look in the mirror, because I do believe that every great leader is able to help others fulfill the leadership capacity within themselves. Even if they can't be in charge of hundreds of other people, but they can at least reach the ultimate level of what leadership is for that individual. And you were able to achieve that by the leader that you were following. So I always say, if you want to grow, follow a good leader.
I like that. I like that. No, I was thinking about it because he said it. He's like, not all, not all ways of creating wealth is going to be the right way, but the way I do it is the way I do it. And clearly it's had its perks because maybe a gem or two, or maybe this way he does this business or this advice he gave has obviously duplicated itself in some way, shape, or form. Like his influence is clearly there somehow, some way, right? And we look at and we've talked about it with the whole when you look at multiple streams of income, like how do you want to get your wealth? And there are people who are saying if you want to make this much, you have to do A, B, C, D, aka this whole real estate thing. Right? And you have to do these things in order to be this wealthy or to reach this status, right? And each of those people that, like those two that are billionaires, right? But he has a whole bunch of millionaires too. But everybody who's been through his influence, I'm not going to say his leadership or tutelage, but his influence clearly, right? They've all done it their own way. Kanye's done his amount of money that was up in the air, and we don't know, but he is a billionaire. Shout out to Kanye. But he's done it his way, where people have doubted his whole vibe with fashion, doubted his way of how he created music, doubted a lot of things. He created his way. Jay-Z with not only music, but sports ownership agency, streaming service, alcohol, clothes, like he's done it his way. Other artists, Cameron, all that great stuff, done it their way. And I think that is what is being duplicated. That of you are able to make this amount of money by investing in yourself and doing it your way. There's so many other models, but the important model is your model.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I thought that when he was pretty much talking about that, I was like, yo, we've shown so many different blueprints of how to create influence, how to create wealth, how to do these different things. But at the end of the day, we have to look and take and still create our own.
Yeah.
But it breaks down into, at the end of the day, what is success and what is wealth to you?
Exactly.
If you have not answered that, then you are chasing something blindly. Period.
You preaching next. Yeah, you preaching. For real.
That's a whole nother podcast.
That's good.